Hi guys, it's Fiona Edgar here, and I decided that I would make a video on Julian Assange. There has been talk in the media about President Trump pardoning him. I'm not sure if that has actually happened yet, so please update me. So I'm just going to talk about what I see in his birth chart. I don't actually know about the current situation that's been going on with him. So for those that don't know, Julian Assange is an Australian computer hacker, editor, publisher, and activist who founded WikiLeaks in 2006. WikiLeaks is, of course, the non-profit organization that publishes news leaks. I highly recommend that you read those news leaks if you haven't done so already. They will enlighten you about a lot of stuff. So Julian Assange, he has a pretty intense chart. I was actually quite surprised when I looked at his chart because it's really similar to my own. He has Sun in Cancer and Moon in Scorpio, like myself. So Sun in Cancer people are intuitive. They are caring. It's a cardinal sign, so they like to take action. Placed in the 8th house here, this is a very intense place for the sun to be, so it makes him a natural detective. He has the ability to read through the lines. He sees through lies. He has a very strong intuition, bordering on psychic abilities, I would say, along with this Moon in Scorpio here. People that have Sun in the 8th house die many deaths and are reborn again many times in the same incarnation. Death is something that he probably experienced when he was fairly young. Those kind of themes of death, trauma. He does have a bit of trauma here in his childhood. The IC, this is the lowest part of the chart, and one of the things that it tells in Astrologer is the type of childhood that you had, the type of nurturing, your family line. With Mars here, it's highly likely that he had a violent childhood. There was some kind of violence that he was subjected to, possibly abuse, or he witnessed violence very early on. This is something that would go quite far back along his family line. The North Node is in Aquarius, and it's actually placed in the 3rd, but also close to the IC. So the North Node in Aquarius is someone that has been in their past lives. In some of his most recent incarnations, he has actually been someone very powerful, because the South Node is karmically where we have come from in past lives, but also it's the type of energy that we brought with us when we were born. And in Leo is obviously the sign of royalty, of powerful people, powerful men, government, kings, rulers. So his South Node there in the 9th house in Leo speaks towards a very personal past life personality that actually was highly involved in the affairs of other countries, foreign affairs, which we know he has continued that work into this lifetime. But I will say that it may not always have been something good that he was involved in. He had power over other countries. There's a very strong influence that he had. So in this incarnation, he's kind of making up for that by releasing these WikiLeaks and trying to balance the system in his own way. And he's really, he's been incarcerated for many years, to avoid a prison sentence. So let's hope that that's coming to an end soon. So yes, a troubled childhood, someone that was born here with the karma that he needed to put something right because of his kind of meddling in other countries. That was mostly for his own gain. He is someone that is really obsessed with the truth and uncovering secrets and uncovering hidden and occult information. This Moon in Scorpio is probably one of the most intense placements that anyone could ever have. Like I say, I have Moon in Scorpio, and there is a theme here in this lifetime and also other lifetimes of being involved in hidden activities, occult activities. There's also a theme of persecution. So where that ties in with this kind of south node of being a powerful person, maybe he was put into exile like he has been in this lifetime. So he's kind of continuing on something that he started and wrapping that up in this incarnation. So the Moon in Scorpio people, they are obsessed with the truth. Okay, if something is a lie, and they have an inbuilt lie detector, when someone tells us something that isn't true, we know, we automatically know. And we have excellent research skills and just the ability to go through data and information with a fine-tooth comb, which is obviously what he's done here. So the moon is conjunct Jupiter, and he actually has this conjunction placed in the 12th house. Now this birth time of 3 p.m. I'm a little bit suspicious of, because almost when someone gives you a birth time that's like on the button, 3 a.m. or 3 p.m., it's probably off by a couple of minutes. I haven't had the chance to rectify it because I've been off for a couple of weeks and I'm still technically on my Christmas holidays. I just decided impulsively that I would make a video tonight. So I'm a little bit suspicious of this. I think it's a couple of minutes out, and I will explain my reasons for that in a few minutes. But this moon in the 12th house is definitely someone that has always felt completely isolated and very, very different from the rest of society, his peers, his family. I think that he's definitely has issues here with his family, particularly his mother, because the moon is square to Mars, which is on the IC. That could be a narcissistic mother, an abusive mother. It could also be the father, or just simply the relationship that he witnessed as he was growing up. But this is someone that has spent a lot of his time alone until he knew what his calling was, and he felt very strongly called to get involved or to start WikiLeaks and to start releasing this information to the public. It's a soul calling for him to do this. This Neptune, so Neptune is the planet of the mystic, a mystic person, psychic, but it's also about delusions, illusions, deception. When it's placed on the ascendant, it's very, very difficult for the person to live with that, because they become a scapegoat and they become a martyr. This can be someone that has had addictions. I personally don't know anything that he suffered from addictions, but with all astrology aspects, they can manifest in very different ways. So I mostly see this, knowing what I know about him, that he has become a martyr, and he has sacrificed a lot of his life to get this information out to the public, which unfortunately a lot of people have chosen to ignore it. I mean, I think a lot of people first really heard about WikiLeaks around the time of the 2016 election, when there was the whole Pizzagate stuff, which of course was branded as fake news, and there was all this stuff in the media about conspiracy theorists, just as they're doing now. If you're not going along with the COVID narrative, I read the emails, and it was pretty clear to me what they said and what they were talking about, particularly that certain woman that was running against Donald Trump in the election. But anyway, go and read it for yourself. But yeah, he's become a martyr, and he sacrificed a lot of his life for this, and he will continue to do so. Even if he gets pardoned, that he's still always going to have this this hanging over him. There's so many powerful people in the world that will want him to die. And let's face it, he's a renegade. He's a Uranian guy. He's a freedom fighter. They will want him to be silenced. So, okay, let's go on to some other parts of his chart. So his Mercury in Cancer in the 9th house. So the 9th house is it's ruled by Jupiter. It's about spirituality. It's about truth. And with Mercury placed there, he's on an endless quest for truth and to expose the truth in a way that is ultimately Cancerian. It's intuitive, it's caring. His reasons for doing so were to try and stop them. He was aware of what was going on, and he wants all of this business to come to an end. His Sagittarius ascendant also gives him this personality that is obsessed with the truth. So some people that have Sagittarius rising, if it was on a lower frequency, it would be someone that is obsessed with pleasure and adventure and just going from one thing to the other and never really settling. But as far as I can see, the way that this energy manifests for him is that he's seeking to expose the truth. He's seeking to enlighten the rest of humanity about knowledge, about hidden and occult knowledge. So Pluto and Uranus in the 11th house. The 11th house is about your group identity. Where do you fit into a group? And with Uranus there, it's that renegade Uranian kind of energy. He doesn't really fit in anywhere. He doesn't fit into any group, except probably his colleagues at WikiLeaks. Pluto there, this is someone that was born to bring change to groups and to society, the society that we live in. He's a highly Plutonian and Uranian person. If you see that Uranus makes a sextile here to his ascendant, he's very much a Uranian person. Actually, the Uranian archetype, the freedom fighter rebel archetype, runs down his family line. So I wouldn't be surprised if ancestors of his were similar. Also his that his past lives are kind of colored with this Uranian energy as well. So on a more personal level, his relationships have been difficult and a source of pain for him. I don't know a thing about his relationships or anything. Like, I don't know if he's been married or... Saturn here it's a highly karmic placement to have that right on the descendant. So the descendant is the cusp of the seventh house, and it's all about our relationships with other people, marriage, romantic partnerships, business partnerships. With Saturn there, it's going to be very limited. Some people that have Saturn there never marry at all, for one reason or another, because it actually wasn't really on their karmic path to do so. They just find that whatever they do, they can't really find another person that really completes them. And I think that, like, the way that he is, we can see why that would happen, why that would be the case in his life. So Saturn there is also about karma coming from other past lives that just put a blockage on his relationships. But the positive side of this, the positive side of Saturn here, is that any connections that he does make are very, very solid. They're very solid, and these partnerships are very long lasting, and they're usually people that he can. This is an intuitive guy, okay? This is a guy that has an excellent judge of character. This is the type of person that would be able to look at someone and just noticing the way that they move their eye or touch their face, what kind of person they are. This is someone that would be able to read a person's face. I'm not sure if he's involved in the occult or anything like that. It really wouldn't surprise me. Anyone that has that kind of knowledge knows that the elite are using it and have done so for thousands of years. So I'm sure that he does have a personal interest. But this is someone that wouldn't even have to learn anything in particular to develop those abilities, because he was actually born. He was born with those abilities. So on his father's side, so running down his father's side, Julian has this kind of renegade type of archetype. He may have had an unstable relationship with his father. His father may have been absent a lot, or even completely from his childhood. I don't know. But there's definitely, with Uranus squaring his sun here, a square is a hard aspect. And that's like a really unstable, chaotic relationship that he would have had with his father. Also, his identity has been greatly affected by this. Possibly his father, could have been this, maybe there were some family secrets, and he kind of was born and grew up knowing that he had to play his cards close to his chest with the Scorpio moon here, but also that he had lessons in childhood that taught him you must always have your eyes open when you're dealing with other people. Honestly, that's the way that it was with me. And that's probably why I have such a mistrust of authority. It's because of certain experiences that I had in my childhood. And I'm extremely grateful for those experiences despite their difficulty, because I never really believed anything that anyone told me unless I saw it for myself. And I did all of my own research myself. I've talked about this before in other videos, but this is the kind of thing that I'm seeing here in Julian's chart. There's something similar there. He has a lot of placements that are so similar to mine. The biggest wound that he has is his own children. Okay, because Chiron, the planet Chiron, is about your wounds, right? It's about your wounds and your ability to heal. Some people never heal from their wounds. And the 5th house in the birth chart is connected to, first of all, children that you have yourself, but also your fatherhood, being a father. This has been a great source of pain for him. We can also see that the sun in his birth chart, which represents his own father, but also his own sense of masculinity, is making a square to Chiron in Aries. I would say that his father possibly was violent, and there's like a family curse or a family pattern that is deeply connected to the separation of a child from its father. This is being reflected in his birth chart. So I don't know if he actually has any kids. Like I say, I haven't really done much research on him, but I would say that because he's been in hiding for so many years, if he does have children, he wasn't able to have a relationship with them or something along those lines. Okay, so the midheaven in his chart is in Leo. The midheaven is the highest and most visible part of the chart. It's the way that the public see us. So there's no hiding the midheaven. This is like, if being a public figure, everyone's seeing his midheaven before they see anything else about you. So in Leo, he was definitely born to take the spotlight. And like I say, it's something that he became comfortable with, because he he has experienced this in his past lives. He has been a public figure very recently, probably his last incarnation or the one before that. He has been someone who was in the public eye. And despite being such an introvert, he is an introvert. His chart is extremely introverted. Cancer Sun on its own, a water sign, you know, they're intuitive, they're picking up on the vibes from other people. They get exhausted from too much interaction with others. It's the type of person that kind of disappears halfway through a family gathering because they just can't handle all of the different conversations and different energies. And then we have this super introverted hidden Scorpio moon that just really can't bear to be around a lot of people very much, and it's in the most hidden part of the chart, so everything here is like super introverted. He doesn't like being in the spotlight, but it's his calling. You know, this was his calling, and this is something that he had to do. So this Leo midheaven is, you know, that's why he's got a midheaven in a fire sign, and in the fire sign that is known to enjoy the spotlight. This is the only place where he enjoys the spotlight. It's through his work, okay? And he is a hard worker. He is extremely dedicated to his work and to his calling. The Saturn here, although it is conjunct his 7th house cusp, it's technically in the 6th. So the 6th house is about your daily routines. How do you apply yourself to that pile of work that's sitting on your desk? Well, because it's Saturn, he just sits there. He gets it done. There's no messing around, and he can be extremely disciplined when he needs to be. So I actually felt called to look at some fixed stars in Julian's chart. I do add these sometimes in my own readings. They actually give you a deeper story. And when they make a conjunction, when a fixed star makes a conjunction to a planet in your birth chart, it can be extremely potent. The fixed stars tell us our destiny. They describe fated situations that honestly the native seems to have little control over. So when it comes to stuff like tarot and astrology, we can use these forms of divination to figure out what's coming and what paths are possible for us to take and how that we can deal with it. But underneath it all, there's a bottom layer. And in mythology, it would be the Norns. Like in the northern mythology, the Norns are the 3 goddesses that control everyone's fates. So not just the humans, but also the gods. So that explains a bit about their power. And in the Greek traditions, I think it was the Moirai. So that is a kind of, that archetypal energy is when it's a fated situation, you know, when you suddenly meet someone, bang, out of the blue, you meet this person that completely changes your life, or you make a decision that affects the rest of your life. And you never saw it coming. No one ever saw it coming. This is the type of knowledge that we see in the fixed stars. So I was really drawn to look at these fixed stars because I first of all noticed that having the sun at 11 degrees of Cancer here meant that his sun is actually conjunct Sirius. Okay? So in the neck of the great dog, the shining one, the lustrous, sparkling, bright one, it's the brightest star in the northern hemisphere. So if you want to look at a good book that describes the fixed stars, by the way, the one that I'm using is Eberton Hoffman, Fixed Stars and Their Interpretation. My copy is falling apart, so I've literally got it sellotaped. The spine is sellotaped together. So this is where I've got some of these interpretations. I'm just going to read it out to you. So this star, Sirius, first of all, in Egypt, Persia, and Greece and Rome, they actually had sanctuaries that were dedicated to this star and the energy that emanated from this star. The old Germans called it Loki's brand, or fire of Loki's. Okay, so it's not that far away. It's only 8 light years away from us. Its nature is of Mars and Jupiter, so those are quite positive. It's quite a positive nature, and it's actually also known as the royal one, but it is known for causing violence. So according to tradition, Sirius will give a famous death with honours beyond the grave if it's positioned in the 8th house. So this is what he has. This is someone that is honoured after their death, and all of the knowledge that he has given to us and the sacrifices that he has made. Someday everyone is going to know about who he was and what he did, because really at the moment it's only really, I guess, mostly the alternative community that follow Julian and WikiLeaks. So this is someone that is going to be honoured after their death. However, this Sirius is it's a lucky influence, and hopefully his luck is kind of on the turn now. I'm going to look at that in a moment. So I just wanted to look at some other fixed stars here. Okay, so the next one I'm going to look at is, this is called Eunuch. I have no idea if I've pronounced that correctly. And it's located at 21 degrees of Scorpio. So his moon is at 20 degrees of Scorpio. So it's conjunct by 1 degree, which is pretty close. It's close enough. And this star is in the neck of the serpent. And its properties are described as Mars combined with Saturn. So this is more of a malefic influence than his sun. So Mars combined with Saturn is, first of all, violent. Okay, that's not to say that he is violent. I don't believe that he is, but his activities are causing this violence, and they're causing people to want to hurt him. Okay, so this fixed star can also cause a weakened state of health, and operations will be necessary. It says, I don't know anything about his health, but I'm sure after so many years in isolation, his health is suffering. His health is suffering because, first of all, his moon, his emotions, this feeling of isolation, this feeling of wanting to be released from the situation that he's in, but also his secret enemies. Because this star is located in the house of his secret enemies, the 12th house. Now, I'm pretty sure that Julian knows who his enemies actually are, but there are probably a lot of others that he doesn't actually know their names, and hitmen and just people employed to kind of, assassinate him, essentially. So this is where this is coming from. Also, I'm sure that he has been under pretty immense spiritual attacks, I would say. So what was the next star that I wanted to look at? Okay, so I said earlier I didn't believe that he was born at 3 p.m. Intuitively, I'm just picking up that is a few degrees off. Okay, I think it's off by a few minutes. So his ascendant is probably going to be 1 degree, maybe at 2 degrees Sag or 1 degree Sag. I don't know why I'm thinking that it's going backwards instead of forwards, but I'm just kind of intuitively picking up on that. So this fixed star that is actually conjunct his ascendant, when you have a fixed star that is conjunct your ascendant, it becomes even more potent. This is your life's destiny. This is your karma. This is what you came here to do. So this is really interesting. This fixed star is called Akrab, right? And it's in the forehead of Scorpio. So according to tradition, these fixed stars are credited with giving an ability to do research, especially research into things of a particularly secret and hidden nature. For this to be, however, further influence of the sign Scorpio, which he has here, and planets Mercury and Uranus have also to be present. So he has all of that, right? This is what he came here to do. This was his mission. He's completed it, I feel. Probably not everything, but he's got a lot of that information out there. So it does say here that this fixed star is not known for material wealth. And if you look at his second house, which would be connected to the type of money that he earns himself, most of it is in Capricorn, ruled by Saturn. So Saturn puts the limits on things. When Saturn is connected to your finances, it means that your finances are part of your karma, and it can be a very hard area. He's probably never going to be rich, but he's going to get by, because the more that he does his job that he came here to do, the better his finances get. And this would be the case for someone that had Saturn in the second house here. So he does have Jupiter. Again, the birth time thing, that's going to change the cusp of the house, but the cusp of his second house is probably in Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter in this part of the chart. Again, conjunct the fixed star that had the energies of Saturn. This is kind of giving me the vibe that he's been someone incredibly wealthy in a recent past life. This is where the Leo thing is coming in, and the strong, powerful influence. So this area is a little bit constrained for him in this incarnation, but he's always going to get by. He's always going to, if he's doing the right thing, he's always going to be okay. So that was his birth chart. There's probably more that I could go into, but I don't really want to get into the real personal stuff and trying to focus on, the stuff that we've seen in the media. So one good thing that I see coming up for him is that, Saturn and Jupiter, as you know, have gone into tropical Aquarius, and these planets are then making a good aspect to his ascendant, a sextile. So something is happening with him here. There's going to be a breakthrough. Maybe he's going to be pardoned. He's going to be able to leave. He's going to be able to come out of this incarceration that he's been in, and the isolation. I would say that that's fairly likely with these planets making this sextile to his ascendant. So that's definitely positive news. Also, he's got a trine here from transiting Saturn to his natal Saturn in Gemini. And that's kind of like the universe giving you a supportive push in the right direction and giving you some kind of reward. And honestly breaking this terribly monotonous daily routine that he's been in for years. That's the way that I see this. I just literally couldn't imagine that. Being incarcerated for all of those years, probably limited to a couple of rooms. I mean, it's basically prison, right? So also Neptune, the planet Neptune, has been in his fourth house for many, many years. That is adding, obviously, this lack of any real place to call home. But he's always had that to a certain extent, because a large chunk of his fourth is in Pisces. So again, he never had really any steady roots growing up. There was some kind of weirdness going on with his family. Sometimes we see this in the charts of people that have been abused. Is Pisces in the fourth or Neptune in the fourth? So Jupiter's going to be crossing that this year, or this coming year in 2021. So that's going to perk up his home life. I'm really glad to see that. And honestly, the planets in Capricorn, Saturn and Jupiter and Pluto, have been hammering his sun, opposing his sun and his Mercury for a couple of years. I know what this is like because I have just been through that experience myself. So his Saturn, transiting Saturn in Capricorn, and Jupiter were transiting through his second house, and opposing his sun in the 8th. For me, it was the opposite. Saturn and Jupiter and Pluto in my 8th house, opposing my sun in the 2nd. So it's like when the diamond is forged out of the lump of coal. That's that kind of transit. I actually called it the transform or die transit because it was that difficult. It's literally you're hit by all of these intense, extreme situations in your life that really cause you to transform on a deeply emotional and spiritual level. And quite often it involves your life being threatened in some way. So he has all of these kind of Plutonian forces, you know, being directed at his sun in the 8th house. He's being deeply transformed on a spiritual level by his experiences. Maybe he'll talk about those, or, you know, maybe he won't. I don't know. But that's something I bet he's feeling like he could, you know, like such a strong person after that experience. So those are going to let up. Pluto is going to be there for a while. Pluto is going to be opposing his Mercury, right, in the 9th. That's more news coming, I would say. That is certainly more. So Mercury is the planet of communication. It's how we express ourselves. It's our thought processes. How do we think? How do we learn a subject? Pluto is going to be causing him to release more information, to talk about his experiences. He's getting news from Plutonian people. He's helping Plutonian people, okay? So Plutonian people, world leaders, well, maybe only one, let's face it, one world leader. That's going to be going on for another couple of years for him. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Probably some other things I could have talked about, but I've been talking for 36 minutes now. Thanks to Ben, who gave me the idea to make a video about Julian. If you guys have any other world leaders or famous figures, not like silly actresses or anything like that, I don't do that, but influential people that are important at the moment, feel free to drop me a comment. Let me know if you like this. Let me know if you have any other ideas for videos that you'd like me to make. And I'll be back soon with another video.